Well, we're finally back.
It took you long enough.
And yeah, it took way too long to get another one of these out. But we're here, it's the thing, let's do it. Marco Moreno asks, Q&A, what rate do you think the golden armored grunts in Halo 2 are? I highly doubt they're zealots or field marshals of some sort, but then again, we do have grunt ultras. And seeing as the only time we encounter them is in Halo 2 and never see them again, I suspect it's a form of honorable denotation for units serving under prophets in expeditions. I assume you mean the heretic grunts we encounter on the gas mine in Halo 2, as I can't find any other golden grunts in Halo 2. We don't actually know a whole lot about what the heretic ranking structure was, but the majority of Cesar Refumi's forces were part of an artifact retrieval team deployed during the events of Halo CE. The armor sets we see then are presumably designed for extensive operations in an atmosphere like Thresholds, the planet the gas mine is on. As for actual rank, I would imagine a mix of minors and majors, but ultimately we just don't know. I'd love to get more details on Cessa's heretic faction though. That would be awesome. Westy07 asks, Q&A. Hey Halo Canon, it's Westy from Doubtful. Hey dude. I wanted to ask you two questions. One, what's your opinion on Halo fan games in general? And two, do you believe fan games can bring out some unexplored regions of Halo's canon that have not been explored effectively and efficiently? If you see and answer my questions, thank you, and I look forward to talking to you more in the future. Well, thanks for stopping by and to answer your questions. One, in general, I'm all for Halo fan games. I love them. It's a great way to explore ideas and concepts that otherwise might not be doable for 343 or Bungie before them. It also seems like a way to gauge for interest in non-standard Halo games among the community. Either way, it's fun to see other people doing something different with Halo. As for number two, absolutely. Like, your game Downfall is a great example, exploring the fall of Tribute and making another game about ODST is something we desperately need more of. Or something like Operation Trebuchet, which looks at the insurrection. The potential of Halo fan games is just limitless, and the more the merrier. That's all I can say. Gunless Snake asks, Q&A. How do you want the created to be portrayed as far as an in-game enemy to fight? So I want to see a combination of known enemies, notably grunts, hunters, and brutes, since elites will almost certainly be allied with humans, alongside Promethean constructs, new and old, and perhaps a few newer additions such as Sharkwi or even maybe, and this is extremely unlikely but I'd still like to see it, some humans. Above that though, I'd love to see all the species have new quote-unquote created armor sets, so armor that's been created by the created, god that's fun to say, and denotes them as part of this new faction. Something familiar yet distinct, just to be as contradictory as possible. For weapons and vehicles, I like to imagine them mostly being Forerunner, but maybe with some updated Covenant designs, that'd be cool. Gonk Droid asks, Q&A, favorite non-Halo game or game series? Also Gonk. Now that's a tough one. Individual game would probably be BioShock Infinite if I had a gun to my head. There's a lot to pick there, but BioShock Infinite is pretty awesome. It's a fantastic story, fun game, which in general is what I want out of games. Game series though, that's a bit tougher. I think I'm going to go with Gears of War though. There are some out there that I actually love, arguably more than Gears of War, but few that are as consistently good or complete as Gears currently is. Like, I considered Mass Effect and Half-Life here. While I still love the hell out of the first two Mass Effect games, and most of 3, the ending of 3 and the DLC do bring that franchise as a whole down for me. Half-Life 2 I love, but the lack of an ending will forever sour my enjoyment of the series as a whole. Gonk to you too, by the way. It's a Sword Elite asks, Q&A, what is your overall favorite elite in general? Mine is the Halo CE Golden Elites with their energy swords. Also, do you have a favorite named elite character like the Arbiter? So my favorite elite form, I'm guessing based on the question, is the Elite Ultra of Halo Reach. While I don't generally care for the biology of the elites in that game, the armor designs are an absolute win no matter what, and few as much as the Ultra. Just the skull-like face is so menacing and I love it. As for a named elite character, I think I'm going to go with Rojka Kasan from Halo Envoy. He's an extremely interesting and complex character with a great story arc in there, and I really hope we get to see more of him in the future. Caleb R. Strange asks, Halo Canon Q&A. How does the Falcon go from ship in orbit to planet surface through the atmosphere because it has rotor blades, not jet engines, unlike the Pelican? The Falcon is only used for in-atmosphere transport and deployment of troops. It never operates in space, or at least I don't recall any instances of it operating in space. Be kind of awkward because it's got no way to close its fuselage, so. Saints of War asks, Q&A. How does Red Team have energy shields in Halo Wars 1 in their Mark IV armor? Oh boy, this is a complicated one. So, when Halo Wars released, the intention by Ensemble Studios was that the shields were a gameplay mechanic only, as Mark IV wasn't supposed to have shields. They actually mention as much in one of the Halo Wars Vidocs, if memory serves. I'll insert a clip if I can find it. But anyway, that's how it was, until 2011's Halo Essential Visual Guide came out, which said, quote, Energy shields was a key feature of Mark V, although other Spartan squads had field-tested prototypes of this technology as early as 2531. Now, that's a pretty clear reference to Red Team and possibly Omega Team, and 343 even said as much years later when I got the chance to ask them about it. As recently as 2015, Red Team having shields was canon. But then we got the short comic Something Has Happened, and then Halo Wars 2. Something Has Happened takes place 6 years after Halo Wars and shows a brief flood outbreak on the Spirit of Fire. Jerome is awoken during this event to halt the threat, and during that comic, there are no signs of him having energy shields. Now alone, that might be meaningless, it's a comic. But in Halo Wars 2, during cutscenes, Red Team is shown to be lacking in shields. Now, I'll be the first to admit, it's very true that shielding in cutscenes is very inconsistent across the Halo games. But given that Blur was able to animate shields in Halo 2 Anniversary just a year before, I can't imagine any reason they wouldn't be able to animate shielding for Red Team in Halo Wars 2. The fact that they lack it to me seems deliberate. Now, switching back to gameplay, while Red Team does have shielding during the gameplay segments of Halo Wars 2, the armor designs used in-game are meant to represent upgraded armors that they received at some unknown point, either during or after the story. Armor which has Gen 2 components, and thus shielding. Further complicating the matter is that even when I tried to ask 343 about it during one of my now yearly PAX visits, I wasn't able to get a straight answer, so I'm not really sure what the truth is right now. All I know is that even attempting to canonize the shields in Halo Wars 1 was a mistake, and I really hope 343 takes it back at some point. Tom Jurassic asks, Q&A. We already know that Deliver Hope presents us with how Tom, the original 6th member of Noble Team, met his death. But do you believe that Deliver Hope depicts how Kat also lost her arm, replacing it with the cybernetic arm we see in Halo Reach? I noticed in a recent rewatch that both her arms are normal in the live-action short. You're absolutely right, the Deliver Hope trailer does show the moment that Kat's arm was damaged. After the mission on Fumarole, where Tom died as depicted in the trailer, Kat would be outfitted with the prosthetic arm that she sports in Halo Reach. Oniway asks, Q&A. Should they make another Halo Legends episodic movie in anime format? I mean, look at the Gundam universe, they got a few OVAs. I'd say more than a few, but yeah. Should they make another episodic anime movie? Absolutely. Overall, Halo Legends was fantastic, and I'd love to see something like it again. I actually still rewatch it fairly often. I love some of those shorts, especially the duel. Oh, the duel. Although, if they decide to do that again, I wouldn't mind if 343 exerted a little more creative control in some regards. We don't need another Teen Halsey. Crazy Panda 212 asks, what do you think of Red vs. Blue? Oh, time for some nostalgia. Overall, I love the series. Been a fan of it since it was introduced to me somewhere around Season 4 when I was in high school. In fact, I actually remember pre-ordering Season 5 at GameStop, back when GameStop was the only way to purchase Red vs. Blue in a store, and running out to pick up my copy during lunch so I could watch it immediately after school. I've watched and rewatched Seasons 1 through 13 more times than I can count, especially the first 5. Season 14 was a great experiment, and I'd love to see them do something like it again. Season 15 was kind of and I really, despite a few tries, I have not been able to get through Season 16. Thusly, I haven't watched any of Season 17. I want to get back into it, I want to get back into Red vs. Blue, but the new story direction is just, it's out there, let's say, and I'm not sure I'm not sure I'm able to enjoy it. We'll see. Alright, so next up I'm actually going to combine two similar questions that came up when I was randomly choosing these. First, the Chief Rock asks, Q&A, do you think that the Spartan Gundam armor from Halo Legends will return in some form? Sorry, I don't know the actual name of that armor. It always kicks ass with that thing, especially in the darkest hour. Yes, I know we have the Mantis already, but just so cool. And similarly, Starside Gaming asked, Q&A, I've been wanting to see the Yggdrasil exosuit in-game ever since it debuted in Legends. I know it featured in Halo Wars 2 to a small degree, but do you think it will ever appear in a main title game? Especially since technology has progressed to surpass the limits the suit had at its creation, limited power, maneuverability, etc. So to start, I want to address Chief Rock. The armor you're referring to is the Runting Yggdrasil Mark 1 ADS or Armor Defense System. It's also kind of funny that you would mention the Mantis, since that's the Runting Yggdrasil Mark 9 ADS, basically the successor to the, as you call it, Gundam armor. But getting to the core question, I don't think we'll ever see it or anything like it in the games. The problem, at least as I've seen it, is that it's basically just a bigger version of a Spartan, so it would be like a Spartan getting inside a larger Spartan. 343 experimented with some ideas like this for Halo 4, there's concept art of them developing the Mantis, but ultimately they settled on the Mantis design we got. So I don't see something like the prototype armor showing up outside of Halo Wars 2, but I could always be wrong. Personally though, I'd like to see the Halo Wars 2 Cyclops show up, I love that design. Hayden G 230 asks, Q&A, will there be another Q&A? So meta. Really? Nord the Conqueror asks, Q&A, you ever wonder why we're here? Not since I accepted the universe as a cold and uncaring place. Joking aside, is RVB in any way part of the Halo canon? Nope, it is not. While RVB does take inspiration from Halo lore, it is its own separate lore and universe. The creators have actually commented this on a few occasions, one such instance, if I recall, actually being in the Red vs. Blue Reconstruction or Season 6 commentary. Okay, I'm probably going to mess this name up. The Pouilly asks, Q&A, what kind of fuels does humanity use during the 2400s to 2500s? And is it canon that all fossil fuels on Earth have been used up, but they were rediscovered on other planets? So this is kind of a broad topic, I'll just answer as best I can. From what we've seen, humanity largely uses clean fuel sources. Starships use fusion engines, we see hydrogen-powered reactors in Halo Wars 1, and many UNSC ground vehicles are also powered by hydrogen. The Warthog specifically features a solar sailing actuator which can convert water into hydrogen, and if you know chemistry, burning hydrogen or oxidizing it produces water, so it's a very efficient system. Presumably. As for fossil fuels, I don't recall any direct statements about Earth's fossil fuels being used up or fossil fuels being discovered on other planets, only that fossil fuels have almost entirely been abandoned by the UNSC. That said, I could certainly see fossil fuels being mined and used on outer colonies or newly established colonies before they convert to renewable and or more efficient means of power. But who knows? It's one of those things I wouldn't mind seeing explored, especially when it comes to colonization. Like, I could see starting out they'd want to use solar power, they'd want to use largely renewable sources or stuff that they've imported, but would there ever be a point where it would be efficient, if it were available, to use fossil fuels? Because not every planet's going to have fossils, and yeah. So, it's an interesting question that I'd love to see explored in some manner. JJAG3 asks, Q&A, why wasn't Soonion destroyed in Halo 5 along with all the elite forces present when the Guardian awoke? The Guardian at Soonion wasn't directly under Soonion, but kind of next to it, if that makes sense. As such, the destruction presumably wouldn't have been as severe as we see on Meridian or other human colonies, where the Guardians were directly under population centers. Although you can bet that any ships in the sky when the Guardian left probably took a beating. The Four Horsemen asks, Q&A, what would be a good point to jump into the 343 era of Halo lore? I haven't exactly followed Halo's lore too deeply after Bungie left, so I'm wondering what a good jumping in point would be. Thanks and have a great day. Well, thank you. To answer your question, Halo Mythos, a book detailing Halo lore from the height of the Forerunner Ecumene to the start of Halo Wars 2, was released in 2016. So that's a great way to catch up in a broad sense and just get an idea of what Halo's lore is like right now. If you're looking for book recommendations, I'd start with the Forerunner Saga and Kilo 5, the latter picking up months after the end of the Human Covenant War. From there, I'd recommend just reading in release order. There are release order lists on Our Halo and Our Halo Story, or you can even use Halopedia to get a list of books in release order. Not the best answer, but I hope that satisfies you. Phipps Movie Productions asks, Q&A, what do you think brought the Spirit of Fire to the Ark? I'm still banking on Mendicant Bias. Xcube Gaming asks, Q&A, Halo Canon, you are just the best place for some Halo Canon, absolutely delicious, thank you good sir. And thank you for the support. And I also had a question. Should they, in your opinion, bring back 343 Guilty Spark / Chalkus in future canon? Why or why not? Jeez, I waited long enough to answer this question, didn't I? It's like 2 months old now. They actually brought Spark back in the recent Halo Renegades, if you haven't seen my full review of that. Though I would love if he returned in Infinite or some future Halo title. That definitely seems like the original intent with keeping him alive when that was revealed in Halo Primordium, so I'd like to see that followed up on. And I think it could be done without confusing people, by the way. Dak Ralter asks, Q&A, how large was the number of brutes equipped with power armor? To my understanding, those brutes were in small number prior to the Great Schism and were more widely issued after brutes took the place of elites. So why did we see them in ODST? If I recall right, they were from a backup fleet Truth sent that arrived around the same time Regret's slipspace jumped. It makes sense to see them in Halo 3 as they were part of Truth's fleet, but were all or most of the brutes in the Covenant outfitted with power armor after the Schism? And if so, how? Was this armor stockpiled or was it just produced incredibly fast? So as you noted, power-armored brutes were around before the Great Schism. They even date back all the way to the start of the war, but they were in limited numbers. The brutes in Halo 3 ODST were a backup battle group sent by Truth, again as you said, and as we see during the game, they were given orders to eliminate the elites that remained on the planet.
Veronica, what's with all the dead elites?
What do you mean?
Looks like a family feud, like they were killed by brutes. Is there something I should know?
Truth was planning a Jiralhanae takeover well before the invasion of Earth, as part of a plan to basically rule the Covenant, so it makes sense that he'd send only the best armed brutes to Earth to secure it, especially after Regret jumped the gun. For the second part of your question, it's likely Truth was secretly building and stockpiling power armor for a while before the Great Schism kicked off. We know from several sources that Truth had the Sacred Promissory on High Charity, secretly putting out a ton of brute weaponry in preparation for his takeover of the Covenant, so I can imagine the same was true for brute power armor. Samington asks, Q&A, do you have any Joyride Halo figures? Sadly, I do not. Jonas Lemke asks, are you single? Clearly not. Marcus Bruce asks, Q&A, about the status of Nicole, I don't see why they couldn't just retcon her number. Similar to what they did to Ralph 103. Instead of 458, they could change her number to 158. Any thoughts on this? While the number would have to be under 150 as there were only 150 initial candidates for the Spartan 2 program before budget cuts forced that down to 75. But yes, you could presumably just change her number. Cinderburn04 asks, Q&A, will Spartan 1337 come to canon? No. Expo Rush asks, Q&A, I don't fully remember if you covered this or not, but what's your opinion on the deaths of Black Team? I personally thought it was stupid on how pretty much the Black Ops team of the Spartan 2s died in that manner. I also wonder what was the purpose of killing them. My friend and I were discussing that maybe the people who died weren't in fact actual members of Black Team, but were in fact expendable Spartan 4s, most likely prisoners. The reason we came up with this is multiple of reasons. The main factor is that they're strictly an Oni unit and their deaths could actually be a cover-up of something bigger. Another reason is that their roles don't really match with why they were on Installation 03 as security detail. I personally think it's odd that they were sent on security detail when there are plenty of Spartan 4s tasked with just that. Oh yes, I covered it, and needless to say, I was not, am not, and never will be a fan of this dumbass decision. And of course, as it turns out, the death of Black Team was done simply to establish how deadly the freaking Didact was. So, it's utter BS and an utter waste of their potential as characters. 4 years of nothing and they just show up to die. And yeah, it should have just been Spartan Force, because we already know there was Spartan Force sent to Installation 03 for security. We knew that for a while. Sending Black Team makes no sense. But at the moment, it's canon, and I seriously doubt that 343 will ever retcon that. If they ever try, it's not exactly going to be pretty, but God knows it would still be better than what we got. Anyway, Bagration 2009 asks, Q&A, what are the current military-industrial planets other than Tribute and Mars post-war? Sadly, that's pretty much it to our knowledge. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better answer. Arguably, there's Rutherford in that it provides metal and rare earths to Mars and Tribute, but really those two are it. And our final question comes from Monster Tech, who asks, Q&A, if they were to make another spin-off game similar to Reach, what would you want to see? Me personally, I'd like to see Ghosts of Onyx game. Top of my list for a Halo spin-off would be an episodic headhunter game built around stealth and co-op play, followed closely by a Flood survival horror. I can make an entire video about the potential for Halo spin-offs though. I've done one specifically on survival horror, but there's so much more there. But that'll do it for this Q&A. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave questions below for whenever I get around to another one. I'd like to shoot one before E3, but we'll see. In the meantime, look forward to the start of the Halo Reach Primer series I mentioned in my monthly recap recently, among other things. That's all for now, thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you really love me, hit that notification bell and leave a thumbs up. These both really help out the channel. I wouldn't be where I am now without your views and support, so once again, thank you. Keep on being awesome, Canonites.